Hiding in plain sight, just beneath the major headlines, two of the Middle East's biggest powers are locked in a struggle that's been going on for decades. But this is a conflict with no traditional battlefield. It's fought in cyberspace, through other groups, and deep inside secret facilities. So today, we're diving into this simmering, silent conflict between Israel and Iran, and we're going to ask the one question that's on everybody's mind. And let's be clear, this is way more than just a regional dispute. The stakes here are unbelievably high, with the real potential to pull in the world's biggest powers and completely reshape the global order. So the question is, just how close are we to the edge? Let's break it all down. All right, to really get what's going on here, first, you have to understand the nature of the fight itself. This is not declared war. There are no armies lining up on front lines. This is a conflict with a whole different set of rules, fought on very different battlefields. It's what experts call a shadow war. So here's the key. The goal is to hurt your enemy, right? To set back their biggest plans, but, and this is the important part, to do it with just enough deniability so you can avoid a full-blown, catastrophic war. Think of it like a high-stakes chess match, but instead of kings and queens, the pieces are spies, hackers, and allied militias. And look, this is nothing new. The bad blood really goes all the way back to 1979. But things have gotten way more intense in the last decade or so. We're talking about everything from the super sophisticated Stuxnet computer worm that physically wrecked Iranian centrifuges, to targeted assassinations, to literally hundreds of airstrikes in Syria. Every single one of these events is a calculated move in this long, secret war. So where exactly is this fight happening? Well, it's not just in one place. It's being fought all at once across three pretty critical fronts, and each one has its own risks and its own rules of engagement. We're going to look at Iran's nuclear program, which is the big one. Then there's this huge network of proxy forces spread all over the Middle East. And finally, we'll dive into the invisible battleground of the cyber world. So let's start with the most explosive issue of them all. At the absolute heart of this whole conflict is the Iranian nuclear program. For Israel, the idea of Iran getting a nuclear weapon isn't just a threat. They see it as an existential threat, a we might cease to exist kind of threat. And that single issue, right there, is what drives so much of the logic for this shadow war. And what you've got to understand here is just how completely opposite these two positions are. Israel's strategy is basically do whatever it takes, whether it's secret operations or diplomatic pressure to stop that program. Meanwhile, Iran insists its program is just for peaceful energy and they use it as a bargaining chip to get sanctions lifted. As you can see, there's pretty much zero middle ground. Okay, moving on to the second front, the proxy network. This is where Iran funds and arms groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon, different militias in Syria and Iraq, and the Houthis down in Yemen. Through these groups, Iran can project its power across the entire region and create a direct threat right on Israel's borders. And in response, Israel is constantly carrying out strikes to weaken them and cut off their weapons supplies. And then we have the third front, the cyber domain. This is the 24/7 battleground. It's this constant, quiet war of spying and sabotage that targets everything from water systems and shipping ports to government websites. It's cheap, it's really easy to deny you did it, and it can be incredibly disruptive. Okay, so we've got these three fronts, all simmering away. But why should someone in London or Tokyo or Ohio really be concerned about this? Because this shadow war isn't happening in some bubble. Its shockwaves are felt all over the world. Well, the answer really comes down to just how connected our world is, from the gas you put in your car to the stability of the entire global economy. One miscalculation over there could have very direct consequences for every single one of us. And this is where things get really complicated. The US is Israel's #1 ally, no question. Russia partners with Iran in places like Syria. And then you have China, which is a huge trade partner for both countries and just wants stability so it can secure its energy supplies. Every major power has a stake in this game, and they're all pulling the region in different directions. So if this shadow war finally boils over into a direct, hot war, the consequences are massive. Think about the Strait of Hormuz. A huge chunk of the world's oil passes right through there. A conflict could shut it down, which would send gas prices through the roof. It could ignite wider chaos, and worst of all, it could pull the major powers like the US and Russia into a direct confrontation. So all of this brings us to the final and most crucial question. Where does this all go from here? Is a full-blown war just a matter of time, or can this really dangerous balancing act hold? Honestly, the whole situation is on a knife's edge. On one side, you have things like a major attack that can't be denied, or Iran making a final dash for a bomb. Either of those could set off an unstoppable chain reaction. But then on the other side, the sheer catastrophic cost of a real war and massive international pressure have so far managed to keep this thing in the shadows. And that really gets to the heart of it. Both sides are playing this incredibly dangerous game, and it has these unwritten rules. The core idea is to get what you want strategically without starting an uncontrollable, all-out war. So it's this constant cycle of pushing and prodding and sabotaging, but always, at least so far, pulling back from that brink that neither side truly wants to cross. And that kind of leaves us with the final chilling thought. Maybe this incredibly tense, unstable situation, this state of almost war, is actually the new normal, a permanent state of conflict that's just fought below the surface. The critical question, though, is how long can you play with fire before the whole world gets burned?